Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Thank you all for being here today. So today, we're going to be talking about our project, Google Scale. First off, I would like to introduce the team. Leader and programmer of the team himself, Joshua Go Yekai. Second member is me, Ethan Ho Thian Hong, lead designer and also designer. Now moving on, here's what we're going to be talking about today. Background, solution, methodology, and product value. Let's start off with number one, background, the problem statement. Most of the time, people find it hard to imagine how big or small something is by words or image alone because they aren't actually there in person to witness the scale of it. For example, take the Burj Khalifa. People say it's the tallest building in the world, spanning at 830 meters tall. It's quite tall, right? But try imagining it in your head. How tall is that exactly? Does it reach the skies? Or is it just another skyscraper? Quite hard, is it? Well, let's see it in person to find out how tall it is then. There's the problem. It's situated in Dubai. On to the solution. Introducing Google Scale. Google Scale is the name of our project. Here are the main features of Google Scale. But before that, remember just now I talked about how hard it is to imagine the scale of something, right? Well, one way to help with visualizing scale is actually by comparing something that is more familiar or more easier to imagine the scale of with said object. First, you can customize shapes and objects to your liking. Second, it allows you to put in your desired dimensions like length, height, or even distance, and it will create a one-to-one scale of it digitally. Third, view object from different angles to get an immersive experience. Finally, fourth, any 3D models you have can be imported into this app from your computer. All four of these features come together to create an app that allows you to compare sizes between two objects. One, which is the dimensions of your desired object, and two, is something more familiar or easier to imagine the scale of, like a human, a car, a house even. With this, you will finally find a solution to visualizing the scale of anything. Now, on to methodology. For this, I will let my other teammate and group leader, Joshua Gore, be the one to present this. Joshua, if you may.
Here is a brief insight to how this app would be created. We are currently developing Google Scale as a web-based application. This is so that it could be easily accessed by anyone through the internet. As this is a web-based application, it will be developed using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the primary languages used in every single website. We also would be using Verge 3D to help with the 3D modeling and rendering in the app. That would be all for the technical details. Now, let's move on to the product and marketing value. So, currently there aren't any apps that we know of that allows you to compare or visualize the scale of 3D objects. But there are apps on the market which allows you to compare 2D objects. So, allow me to show you why our app would be better than these apps on the market. Firstly, those apps would only be able to compare the length and height of objects, but not the width. That won't be very realistic as all objects in the physical world also has a width. Even though things such as a sheet of paper might seem really thin, they still have a width. Therefore, with our app, you could compare the length, width, and height of any object. Next, 2D objects can't really relate to real-world objects because it lacks the width. For example, if you were to buy a cupboard but you are not sure if it could fit in your house, it would be really hard to visualize whether or not it can fit if you aren't sure how big it is. So, with a 3D app like ours, it would be really easy to visualize these scenarios. Last but not least, a 2D object is, well, only two-dimensional. There is only so much you can do with only a length and a height. Therefore, with our app, you could obviously have more customization and control over the object. You could design the object to your imagination. Now, you might be wondering how this is any different from Blender, Fusion 360 or other 3D modeling apps out there. Well, bear in mind that although GoGoScale has most of the features that are available in 3D modeling apps, here you could also set the size of objects with real-world measurements units such as meters, inches, centimeters, etc. You could also set the distance between objects with these units. In conclusion, this app would make it easier for anyone to visualize the scale of 3D objects. Plus, it is also easily accessible to anyone around the world through the internet. Thank you for listening to this presentation.